Make no mistake, society is mastercrafted with a cause and effect perspective. The things we all dislike about society are all effects and not causes. A further agenda, a design is in play, and it seems they have already taken into account what you may or may not do. If predictions are made by data sets based on week to week average happenings and occurrences, they can easily predict what each person will do based on what they did last week. For example, that's one data set. You take that every day and weekly, isolate and identify the variables, and then create data set projections like the hologram that will, these data set projections will create a concept that can be grasped and understood, overstood, and then you can move these concepts as a template or a hologram. Let's just say template for now. But both words apply because the concept behind both word is a function of what we're trying to understand and analyze here. So a hologram can be recreated with a fragment of an image, and it can be taken and a projection can be put through the hologram to recast the entire image. So holographic theory, long story short, set patterns and sequences that form in nature throughout all time and space can be recognized, isolated, identified, set into templates, modified, and then set back into play, reprogrammed, altered, hybrid, then purified, reimagined, then reimaged, then reimagined. No, reimagined, then reimaged. Hearing this concept, reflecting, the observation of reality in self. Self is reality. Perhaps since the mind thinks in language and writing on paper with pen is no longer the most common means of linguistic communication, the interface user relationship is reforming the way we imagine how to and the operation of linguistic communication. For example, texting. The interface of user and a phone, the texting interface with a US keyboard becomes a way that you think before you communicate and express. So that's what they're trying to do. It's not necessarily what they are trying to do, but it can be figured out that before you even can communicate the idea to yourself and to others through expression, the forming of ideas, you get to the root of it and it can be altered, everything, easily by just changing the way that one can think about forming an idea before they even have a way to communicate. You understand. Okay, so moving on. Forming persona identities based on likes and dislikes. If you notice in your day-to-day life, the things that make you like or dislike somebody else or are the things they dislike and dislike that we can figure out through the way that they treat us, their environment, and the relationships they have and carry on outside of the immediate environment that you interact with them. And like, for example, if someone's on the phone talking to their mom and you hear how they are with their mom, you go, oh cool, yeah, I talk to my mom like that too. I understand them a little bit better now just by observing that communication. So that's an example of how your likes and dislikes form your relationships and your view of reality. So taking into account what we just talked about, to get to the root of that, the perception of reality can be changed by predicting what people will like and dislike, and then running that backwards and creating what people will like and dislike. And then that creates what they want and look for and try to avoid. So we each do it to ourselves, because that's how we it's a function of social interaction and with our environment and within ourselves, based on likes and dislikes. To the self, no, I would not do that, I'm not like that, I don't like that. To the other, I can't believe they did that, I can't believe you did that, I don't like you now because that's not how I would have done that. To the environment, I like this place, I don't like this place because of that thing, and I don't like that thing, and it's all over the floor in this place, so I don't like this place. So working these things backwards, they can create places that won't be liked, and things that will be liked and wanted, and they can place them, and this is good business practice in our time. And okay, so moving on. It's a function of personal and social interaction within and without self. Marketing motives, psychological observation of behavioral and characteral tendencies creates profiles of our character and our identity, forming data sets of what we do like, and taking this a step further, they create data set profiles of us that project what we will like and what we want next week. Now, taking this full circle, data sets can be created and put into play, composing what will happen next week. And then, furthermore, inserting anomalous events that we have identified and isolated can be selected, as there should be something that could happen on these dates due to close observation of past data sets based on happening chances, probabilities, variables, and circumstances. And then they could say it's a tendency that something would usually happen this day, so we can see that it does happen and it's like this, and it will prevent something else. But at the same time that I got this light in my face, I'm adjusting to that. Let's see. It's just an example of how. Now, what's the point of talking about what could be and all this? Well, what the point is that it is happening, and it's clear, and it's so far further than what I just described, because with the phones, they create these patterns in our lives every day that we don't even realize, and sometimes we can just be playing out roles as a character, being a consumer, and being taken advantage of entirely. No dynamic individual personality, no advancement of spirit and soul. So, when we recognize that we are in one of these patterns, and our development of spirit and soul and body and mind has gone stagnant, we can put back into motion the aspects that we need to fuel to get back moving, and then keep moving, and then progress and advance and grow and become and be that. There is some point where you don't need to be healed anymore, you're healed. And then once you're healed, you're something different. You're something, the next thing. You're not just the same thing that you were before. If you have such a thing that you need to be healed from, that's that devastating. So you can do that to yourself over and over to create more yourself as a more redefined, defragmented, dynamic individual, and being careful of social trends and ways that you might be taken advantage of to diminish your quest, your life purpose, because there seems to be deliberately imposed opposition and obstacles in our course and path of life. So, a demon wants to be engaged on its own levels. The stakes could not be higher. We're in a spiritual war being waged on every facet of human perception. A war for your mind, spiritual warfare. This is John Connor. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance. Long story short, there must be some form of resistance, or we're all getting gangbanged by tentacles. Ground up, our friends and family, made into a fine mist and sprayed mechanically into the atmosphere to disperse, putrefy, and be formed into the next. So if you don't take responsibility, you take orders. If you don't have your own agenda, you fall into someone else's. Truths about reality flow through art and music and expression. Truth flows through the art. Truth in the movies lies in the news. Why?